Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you haven't already, drop a like and a subscribe. And if you have any content that you want to see going forward, go ahead and leave a comment. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about student loan forgiveness just because it's a bit of a hot topic. Um, Biden's coming into office 2021 and he ran most of his campaign on this idea of student loan forgiveness. So I figured it'd be kind of a good idea to talk about a few pros and some cons of um, of going forward with that. So, typically speaking, on the pro side, I see usually one of two arguments. Number one is that it should free up money um, that typically is directed towards these loans into the economy by allowing former students or alumni to redirect that money into either buying more things, investing into their first home, or investing in a business or a small business and starting up. And then though that typically or hopefully is going to boost the economy. Another angle that I've seen it at is typically speaking, um, giving back to the community. So what that means is a stipulation of yes, you get student loan forgiveness, and let's say for example $10,000, because that's kind of what seems to be the consensus as of right now, is a $10,000 forgiveness where you either volunteer into doing community service, volunteer like work at a nonprofit, or work at a government agency or a government type job to receive that student loan forgiveness. And this should hopefully kind of get people a little bit more jobs or get people ingrained a little bit more active in terms of government or in terms of betterment of society or betterment of the country. So in that way, also boost the economy. So those are the two main arguments. Another one is also racial equality, because as you may or may not know, typically minorities, especially the Black community, is affected or disparaged a lot in terms of student loans just because they end up having to take out more loans than others for various reasons. It could be because of jobs or like job inavailability. At the same time, balancing work, loans, and going to school. So they typically tend to be more affected, and believing that relieving or alleviating that pain of paying back student loans should help or in that regard. So that's kind of the main argument there that's been touted about in the media about like how student loan forgiveness would help. And then in terms of cons, something that I've seen and I agree with is a student loan forgiveness could potentially be terrible for taxes if not done incorrectly. Because as I mentioned in one of my previous videos, you would receive a Form 1099-C, which is cancellation of debt. And just to give a little bit of a refresher on that, let's say I have a Wells Fargo credit card and I spent $5,000 on that credit card and I started to be late on my payments and I wanted to just settle the account and close it. So Wells Fargo is going to offer me a settlement amount that I could pay just to close the account and be done with it. So let's say I paid $2,000 out of that $5,000 to close the account. That $3,000 that I didn't pay doesn't just go away. At the end of the year, I'll receive a Form 1099-C, cancellation of debt, because in the IRS's eyes, that $3,000 that I didn't pay is now income. The reason being is because initially I entered into a loan agreement with Wells Fargo where I would just be paying back that money, so it doesn't count as income. However, now that they've just allowed that money to slide and that I didn't pay it back, the IRS is going to consider that $3,000 income because it's money that I received and did not pay back and used for my own benefit to whatever degree or whatever I used it for. So that would typically be the argument there. And as you can see, that's a little bit of a problem because most people don't have the money to pay a huge amount of tax, especially $10,000. So say $10,000 is the forgiving amount. So in 2021, what that would look like if there was no protection is that I would pay, let's assume, a tax rate of 10%. 10% of $10,000 is $1,000. That's a lot of money to pay out of pocket during tax season, since most people aren't going to have that income or that kind of money. And also $10,000 could be the difference between one tax bracket and another. So you can see how that can start to affect people in negative ways. Another argument against student loan forgiveness is that it's unfair or unethical because some people gave up the opportunity to go to college because they couldn't afford to take out loans and they didn't qualify for grants. So they just kind of went directly into the workforce or went into a trade instead. And then others who feel it's unfair because they paid their dues, they went through college, they spent all this time kind of going to repayment programs or repaid off like almost their entire loan and feel like it kind of undermines them a bit at that point to forgive student loans. So those are kind of the two opposing arguments. If anything, let me know what you think in the comments below. Again, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.